and welcome to All at Once. Adding chords to a melody is our week 3 project for our fingerstyle class. Now, I've chosen for us an old English tune. This is one, it's reputed by some to have been written by Henry VIII, who was a lute player. It was one that quite popular. People, in 1546, two different people applied for licenses to print it, and in the day, that was your social proof. So today, what we're going to do, and the reason I like using this as our example for how to add chords to a melody, is because it's in 3/4 timing. It's in triple meter or compound meter, but it means we boil it all down so the important chord is on the first beat of whatever we're doing. Now, as we get into it, that's going to be a shift. But we're going to start off, and the important thing is adding the chord right at the beginning. So, if we can have the Greensleeves Bare Bones up on the screen, please, that'll give us a place to start. I taught this in jam play in regular just tune lessons in E minor, but here I've got it in A minor, and I've got it for some reasons for that. It lets me play the melody on the top 4 strings, the highest 4 strings, and it lets me have the bottom strings as a place that I can add all kinds of bass note and harmony kind of things. But to begin with, let's just play the melody. Let's start again. Here we are at the beginning. Second half. So that's playing through and using my fingers in home position. Now, of course, I could use any finger because it's just the melody. I chose to use home position because I know I'm going to be adding some things to it. So I went through and played the melody. Now let's just go through and play the chords. La 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 la. Oh, they're changing faster. Da 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 dum. La 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 la. So our task is going to be if there's any questions about the chords or anything like that, I tried to play the chords, I tried to write the chords in the bare bones that are going to be the ones we're going to use as we add in chords 1. So even though I strummed let me do it again because that wasn't clear. I'm only going to play the notes that are available according to the chord boxes. Bum, 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 ba, 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 ba. First line, second line. Bum, ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Ma ba 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 Now let's take a look at chords 1, because all I'm doing is adding a strum or a plucked chord, which is a legitimate way to start with your fingerstyle. First line, let's do it again. It's a different version of G because I've got to cover the melody note on the B string at the 3rd fret. Next line, almost the same as the first one. The A5 doesn't have the C in it to tell us that it's major or minor, it's just A, E, A. And that E over B requires a good stretch with your pinky. If you play the exercises that I use, your fingers are all assigned to a string, so having your pinky reach to that place may be a challenge because your other fingers are placed, but this is one of those good exercise places. Let's just do the first half again. Going on, in the B section, it's not labeled as B, it's but the second, it's after the double bar. This time we have a whole E minor chord, but we have a high E. The high E string is covered at the 3rd fret. I'm using my pinky because I need that melody note. So my D5, I'm not using the whole D because I don't want the note above the melody to confuse the melody. So the E minor with the D, G on the top, now a D5, which is part of a D chord. A little bit different than at the end of the first line. We do almost the same thing again. Now I'm going to go back and play through it again. I had the Guitar Pro files playing at 108. If that's still too fast of a clip, because it's Guitar Pro, you can always slow it down and play it at a tempo that works better for you. In fact, I heard from somebody that was saying they had not used, it was Steve here, said that he had not used Guitar Pro before and he found it very helpful in being able to loop a measure. And so that's one of the reasons this tool is useful. If you don't have that tool in your box, it's a good time to go get that tool in your box. So at the beginning, let's go through it again. F, E, second line. Third line. Now I find when I'm doing this arrangement, rather than keeping myself in the home position, I'm actually using kind of thumb and two fingers as my pinch, because I'm playing three things at once. And when I need something more than three, then I add my third finger. When I'm brushing, I add my pinky. And remember I told you I could never grow nails? Here's a miracle, folks. During this quarantine time, I'm starting to grow some nails that last. They're still here. I don't know if it's diet or that I'm not banging around doing other things. So, right now, if you're hearing a little more clarity than you usually do without picks, it's because, oh, look at that. Well, wonders never cease. So now let's do this in kind of a one. Let's see if I can get a tempo here. I think the problem here is that these are all I did that there in 100. So if the tempo, I'm having a little trouble with the tempo, what I can do is just take out the melody and sing the melody. And choosing a tune like this that's got a familiar melody makes it possible to do more possible to do that. And just see, can I get into the rhythm of the melody? Now, let me just pause and see if there's any questions or issues that are coming up with Chords 1. seeing none, I'll prepare to move on. Dreamer. Gotta see if that's on this computer. Wonder where that one went. Thought I created that one on here. Nope, I'm not seeing it. Okay, let's look at adding chords 2. So my process was I'd added the chords before, but now I want to do some more things. So if you take a look at adding chords 2, I'm going to play through it. You can see I've inserted some extra chords. That's part of adding chords 2. And I've also added some walking bass to get between those chords. Try that again. So you can see it wasn't hard to make this more complicated. The trick with this is always to go as complicated as you want to, but what I'm looking for is what are the creative things that can happen. And as I played through adding just the chords that I expected to have there, it seemed like there could be another move, which is why I added the C chord right in the first measure. Waiting for that one to come is kind of tricky. And that move, I think, really feels good. Now I'm using the F. I don't need the high note. Yeah, it's nice, but it's not part of the melody. Now I played with adding the A suspended 2. Right, oops. Well, it should be an A sus2. Looks like I didn't prove as carefully as I thought. It's correct in the tablature, but the chord shape above should just be 2 fingers. So a 0 over the B string instead of an X. At the very last measure, and you can put that in the third measure if you want it. You can use that as a mood setter. Now going on. So there's an E minor walk up to the G. I'm hooking my thumb for that. Just like I do for the F. Now, if you have any questions about that, what I'm going to do is change guitars. This is the nylon string to show that this works also on the steel string. The neck's just a little bit narrow. There's a slight variation that I need to make. I noticed that without the resonance of that, I'm not feeling the volume is as high, so I'm going to put on my finger picks so that I can play a little more relaxed and not have to pull for the volume. Now you'll notice that I added, that time through, I was using Chords 2 as my basic thing, but because I'm using chord shapes in the left hand rather than thinking individual notes, that it provided me with an opportunity to add some other notes in. Which is a little bit what we did as we played with the Frere Jacques last. Sorry. I started thinking instead of playing. So that time I took all that is here as the melody in my chords, and I played with it to become a little syncopated. To read it would be challenging. But once I have it in my hands, I have where the melody's going, I've decided that the chord, this is the key I want to do it in because of the openness it gives me to play the melody in a comfortable place and have the right bass notes to go along with it. Then moving from 3/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, There's a sense of longing with this piece that I think that suspended second chord is really, really good with. Certainly. And that's part of why starting with the chords this song, the question is, can this song be strums instead of picked? I'm sorry I didn't say that out loud for you first. So yeah, a wonderful example of someone who plays in that kind of a style is Steve Kaufman. Okay, Blueser, you are saying you're having a problem with pinky stretch on the 4th fret. And it is a tough stretch. Let me see if I have, hold on a second. In my jam play file box, I might have a pinky stretcher. And I can't remember if that made it into... anything already here. So here is a link to a... So if I'm playing the A minor chord, one of the things I can do is is add my pinky to all these places. They're in order, the red dots are in order of what to do. And that's just A minor 7, A minor 6, A6, or regular A and A sus4. Now if I go over to the, and add fingers first to the D string, that gives me an F major 7 chord. If I add it to the A string, it gives me a C6 chord. If I add it to at the 4th fret, it gives me an A minor 6 chord, like this one adds the. So these are. Oh, okay. So you lift up and got it. Cool. So anyway, this exercise is a way to help with that, and Blueser figured out a way to get around it. Now there's another question. Use visible fret markers to make it easier to see your fretboard location. Are you talking about in the tablature, or are you talking about, because I'm not sure how I can do that in the tablature. Are you talking about when I'm playing? So Spike Dog, I'm not quite sure I understand what your suggestion is there. And clarify home position with the right hand. My home position that I'm talking about is where my ring finger plays the high E string. Second finger plays the B string. First finger plays the G string. Thumb plays the D, A, and E. That's my home position. And what I said I moved out of that is when I'm playing the pinches on adding chords 1, I can just take that whole thing and move it over so everything isn't in home position. I've worked on them being in home position first. Okay, and this guitar does not have visible fret markers. I get it. Classical ones often don't. Thanks for the clarification on that. Now, the question was, is this considered freeform because there's no set pattern? I guess, yeah. I've not heard that used, but it makes sense. What I'm doing is creating a chord melody version of the song. Let's see. So the question is, am I playing 1, 2, and 3 on specific strings only? In this version, yes. I'm keeping my hands in their home position for the most part. So let's see this home position. Aha, here's where I have to move over. The F is where I have to move out of home position, and I slide home position over one set of strings. That's a good question. Because I don't want the high E ringing to get in the way of the melody. But then stay shifted. Now home position. So I'm shifting. The D is the same. I'm shifting for the E minor. Staying shifted. Shifted that whole way back to home position. Shift. So yeah, yes, correct. T-Buzz is asking the question, does position, so position has nothing to do with fret position. My home position is about my right hand. It's about where this hand is going to be, and that doesn't have anything to do with this side. What's the difference in position is being asked? So my home position is where thumb is going to basically play everything, the low three strings, first finger G string, second finger B string, third finger E string. When I'm saying shift my position, I'm picking up the whole pattern and moving it over one set of strings. So now the thumb is only playing the low two strings. The high E string is not being played at all because it's not needed for these parts of the song. Because the melody doesn't get any higher than the B string. So that's the difference. And when I'm saying shift position, I'm shifting with my right hand. There's another question. How long did it take me to learn this song? I've been playing this one for a long time. So when I wrote this arrangement, that didn't take very long at all. We are playing Greensleeves, is the question. What string sizes am I using? These are John Pierce. I think they're phosphor bronze light. Let me just peek and see if I have a set over here. Yep, in my backup catalog, phosphor bronze wound light gauge. And it goes from E is a 12 and the 6th string is a 53. The question is, what is home position and how do I play it? Home position is what we talked about in the first class. So if you want to have some, if you're not quite getting it here, then take a look at lesson 1 and you can review it there. But just generally, because I have 5 fingers available and I have 6 strings, I've got to do something to cover everything. If I spend all of my time trying to figure out, oh, which note, which finger here, which string, that's way too many things for my brain. And so what I do is I have a home position that this is where I start. I can change the home position, but I can leave home, but I need to know where I am. So what I do is assign the right hand fingers to the strings. Ring finger, high E string, middle finger or second finger to the B string, first finger or pointer to the G string, and the thumb plays the other ones. So So the D, the A, and the E strings are all what the thumb does. And we talked about that with Paw Paw Patch, and we talked about that with Frere Jacques. Now, for this is a little more complicated than what we did before, and so there is a place in this song, every time I go to the F chord, I want to get more notes, so I can move my whole position, my home position can go next door. So now, nothing is playing the high E, and everything that the high E finger was the ring finger. That's going to be a B string. The B string finger was my second finger, or middle finger. That's going to be on G. My first finger, or pointer, was the G. It's on the D string, and my thumb is going to cover the bottom two. So I hope that clarifies that. But again, if you need a little more practice with that, a little more deeper understanding, check out the lesson 1. Now, in terms of this arrangement, I chose chords that I liked to go with it as I was arranging it. I just bumped into I could use instead of an E minor, I could use a C for that high G. And that makes me want to go to a G next. As I get that tonality in my hands and kind of steep in it, all of a sudden I can stay with this kind of arrangement and then add stuff. I can substitute other things. But what I started with was the melody. I added the chords that I expected to kind of be there. And all we did, because it's a 3/4 piece, I just needed to add the chords on the first beat. Which is why this is, when the question was, can you play this as a strumming song? Yes, you could. In a 3/4 time, in a waltz tempo time, the important thing you want to touch or play is 1. That's when you want that to happen. So that's why we started with this instead of a 4/4 piece. Now, I did promise that we're going to have Beautiful Dreamer, and I forgot to give it to them, and I forgot to bring it here, and it's not on this computer. So here's my promise to you. I will send that so that it can get put in as a bonus, if they'll do that. The question is, do I anchor my pinky when I'm finger picking? And I often do, but I don't always. So for me, the anchoring, to anchor or not anchor, has to do with if I'm doing a lot that's really close, I might not need to. But when I was and I wanted to get I did anchor because I wanted to make sure I'd get to the right place when it was time. It's a sweet tune. Give yourself. I did this in a progressive arrangement so that you could give yourself some time working on it and learning it. Okay, we have a question about the left hand. Can I use my ring finger and catch the rest of the notes without shifting my whole wrist? It's a good question. Yep, it's certainly going to be possible. So if you're used to using G as this example, here's the places where I found myself tripping up just a little bit, making sure my pinky was the thing that landed on the B string for the D, the melody note. Because I'm more used to using my ring finger for that. And then the other place is making sure that I shift to get the first finger to play the F sharp. And then pulling off and getting to the D because of the shift for me. But that's just because I've played it the other way. Yep, it would certainly work. The thing that amazes me is, I mean, we've got these fingers, we've got these strings, and then we've got all of us. And there's so many different ways to play something. And different strategies. Sometimes we do pin ourselves into a corner because we've done something, and I've watched. I have some colleagues that I'll watch, and it's like, oh man, you finger those chords way differently than me. And I know that if I tried to do it the way you do it, I would fall apart. I don't know, fall apart. I would certainly slip up a lot. And that's because I've learned it the other way. But their way is working. So, no argument. There's no reason for me to tell them they're doing it wrong. Because to them, I'm doing it wrong. If my definition of wrong is it's not what I'm doing. The only reason that it could be wrong is if you're finding there's a limitation to what you're trying to do. So you have a particular way to form a chord, and you find that I can't get to the next thing I want to do. That's when it's time to look for a new chord. Okay. Are there any other questions about our lesson today? I hope you have fun with this. As always, you can contact me if you have questions or concerns, or you have an aha experience. Just message me in the JamPlay system. You can find me. I'm in the teachers list, and find me and give me your questions or feedback, anything like that, right there. Yes, the question is, can the song be played in a different key? And actually, hold on a minute. I'm going to go use the JamPlay resources. In Phase 3 songs, I did a lesson many years ago, in which case we're in, I believe, I'm just going to check again. We're in, yeah, it's one of the early lessons I did. We did an E minor for this lesson. And this is before the fancy graphics. I think this is the graphics that I drew on the board. Oh, maybe not. Yes, I did. This is back when we were doing it the old school way. The tune we're playing this song in for this lesson is A minor. In that lesson, we're in E minor. So obviously we can, and if you wanted to play all the same stuff, the same shapes, but you wanted to play with somebody who wanted to sing it and they couldn't do it in the key, the capo is your friend. Taking B minor and playing with capo 2 puts me right up into B minor. So, well, friends, I will look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you for your kind attention today. Thanks for working through this tune with me, and I hope you have some fun and some fun to report with it. And maybe you'll find some new things that I didn't find already. But for now, I'm going to say bye.